Hey guys, this is Jasu, and I am a little bit sick right now. Just a little bit. Hopefully you guys are doing fine, and hopefully none of that will impact our little playthrough series right here of Final Fantasy Tactics 4 Job Fiesta. That is, hopefully the sickness won't impact it. Your guys' fineness or lack thereof probably won't have too much of an effect either way, but nevertheless, I hope you're doing fine anyways. So, yeah. Just to recap, we set up our party, and I went over the parameters of the challenge and all in the previous sort of introductory video, which, went on for like almost an hour. I'm hoping to keep the different parts in this series a little bit shorter than that, but I guess we'll end up with what we end up with. So, to recap, final party, we've got Beef, our main man. Beef Beolv, or however it's pronounced, Beolv, whatever. Beef the Archer is our first guy. Then we've got Sirloin the Bard. Then on the female half of the team, we got Brisket the Mystic / Oracle. And finally, rounding out the team, we got T-Bone the Thief. And filling in as our guest for pretty much the whole first chapter, we've got Delita, who... the general thing, actually, for class-restricted challenges is that guests can be whatever you want. They don't sort of fit into the parameters of the challenge, typically, when doing any kinds of challenges like this. So, I think I'm pretty much, just gonna go with that. We'll make Delita whatever we want. But, going in... Or I guess it's not the next battle just yet. We've got, I think it's a flashback right now. Yeah, flashback to the death of... Balbane's Beolv, Beef's father. Or is he's named something different in this game. I think it's Barbanese or Barbaneth. Barbaneth Beolv. A great hero in his own right. Who had attained... Yeah, I'm not... No, that would go on forever if I read all of the text in this game. Goodness. But, So 4 Job Fiesta, this is one other kind of stipulation that I didn't really go over in the introductory video, and it's kind of an obvious one, but 4 jobs, 4 characters. The full party size in this game is actually 5 characters, or it varies from battle to battle. If there's... in most battles, you can get 5 characters on your team. If you have any guests, and guests are just your sort of NPC helpers. Some missions give you a couple of those, and I think it's typically if a mission gives you 2 guests, then you'll be restricted to 4 characters. Like you saw in the previous mission, we had Delita in our guest slot, but we were still able to use 5 characters. For most of the first chapter, though, we're going to have 2 guests, which means, only 4 characters, which doesn't make any difference to us anyway, since, we're only using 4 characters in the first place. I kind of like using 4 characters anyways, in general, as opposed to 5, just because it makes it easier to keep your experience and JP gains across all your characters kind of on par with each other. You don't have anyone pulling ahead or lagging behind too much, and it takes away the decision of, who's going to sit out each of these 4 character battles. Here we've only got 4 characters in the first place, so everybody gets to fight every battle, and that just kind of simplifies things. Although with that said, it will make some battles a little bit tougher, so you can consider that, I guess, part of the challenge as well. You know what? Yeah, there's absolutely no chance that we're gonna lose this battle. I'm just gonna go right on through without saving. Okay, one thing I've always disliked about this game is the blind setup screen here. It's like, none of this means anything unless you... Or that is in terms of like laying out your characters on the grid. Like the positioning of your characters doesn't really mean anything if you don't know the full map that you're on. And I've played through the game enough that I think I know most of the maps and most of the battles well enough to make kind of informed decisions here. But your first time through the game, it's just like, okay, he'll go here, I guess. And so, in some of the story battles, the place you position Ramza / Beef, I should get used to calling him that. But if you're positioning him, he's probably named Ramza in your party when you play this game. A lot of the time, the story will just require Ramza to start like to start the battle in a specific spot, and so his positioning, that doesn't matter where you put him, because the cutscene is going to put him wherever it wants. But yeah, I mean, I guess in general it's pretty obvious, you know, physical guys in the front, ranged people. Oh, this is... we actually get a little bit of a decision here. You can decide whether you want to rescue their captive or not. And depending on what you choose, it'll actually change the mission objective. But yeah, like I said, Algus... or yeah, our guest for this mission, Algus, is, like all guests, pretty much a suicidal moron. So you do not want to pick the option to defend him. So yeah, if you pick that first option, the mission objective is just defeat all enemies, whereas you actually have to make sure Algus, or Argus, or no, Argath, yeah, it's Argath in this version of the game. Or Algus in this version of the game, but Argath with the War of the Lions translation, which is what we have patched in. Whatever. I'll probably just go back and forth between the different character names regardless, between the two versions, so whatever. Don't want to defend Argath. He will get himself... potentially, he could even... If, like, these guys get lucky crits here, you could end up having Argath killed before you even get a chance to, like, move up and help him at all. Look, there he got a lucky crit, and he actually managed to... Oh, this is perfect, yeah. So he's double perfect, yeah. He's just luring him in, and we're going to get to attack right away. If he doesn't knock him back with the crit like that, he's going to end up stuck in his little spot there, and he might end up getting himself killed before you even can move in and help him at all. Unless you've got a chemist. If you've got a chemist... Oh yeah, that's right, I should have changed my jobs before this battle. Or no, I shouldn't, because we do want to learn gained JP up before we switch over and start working towards the jobs that we want. Ooh, hell yeah. Actually, Beef here is a little bit ahead on experience compared to the other characters. So actually kind of... Ideally, I'll have him sit back a little bit and not soak up too much of the experience in JP. Although actually... Or yeah, none of these people know any skills. So basically the first thing you do in any run of Final Fantasy Tactics is you grind up gained JP up for all of your characters. Gained JP up is a support skill, and I guess I'll go into the way skills work probably after this battle, but it is basically a passive skill that makes it so that you gain, I think, about like 25-50% more JP every time you take an action, which is massive. It greatly decreases the amount of grinding required to get your jobs in any sort of challenge run. It's just essential. Never leave home without it. And so yeah, we're going to have that equipped for our characters just for these early parts of the game before they get to the jobs we want them. And obviously once we get them to the jobs that they're supposed to be in, we can't use JP up anymore because that's it's a Squire skill, and Squire is not one of the classes that we have for this challenge. I think, yeah, rather than going for the side attack, I think this position here has her a little bit safer. And I'm not going to be able to tell any of these characters apart just by looking at them and tell. Or do I? Yeah, I didn't learn. One thing I could do actually is learn some item skills for all my characters. You know what? I think I'm going to support her here. Get some more people on the right-hand flank. Oh wow, Argath's got some moves. By which I mean like a large move stat. He can move like 4 squares. He must have battle boots on. And Delete is about to get owned. That's a shame. I always like it when Argath gets killed in this battle, actually, because he's kind of like just a colossal butt munch in general. Everybody hates Argath. That's just his character. He's just this colossal dumb fuck prick asshole, and everybody hates him. And that's his role in the game. That's what he does in the story. So it kind of gives me a little thrill inside every time he goes and gets his stupid ass killed in all of these early battles. But with that said, he can actually help you out at times. I think we actually want to. I think we'll save the Panther to last. Tricky monsters are actually really dangerous in the early game. Later on, it sort of becomes the opposite. where the human characters, because the human characters will, start getting better equipment and better jobs and skills and stuff as you progress through the game. But in the early parts of the game, the human characters aren't actually that much of a threat. And I think I'm actually just going to have him wait here. Oh yeah, that's going to get him an extra move a turn earlier, so we're going to have him sit there. I don't think this will get her an extra turn on this guy, but there's no reason to have her move, so... basically if there's no reason to have your characters move... Oh right, I didn't want to do him, I wanted to do the other guy. So that's what makes monsters dangerous in the early game. They don't scale as well as human characters, they don't gain equipment, they don't gain extra skills or anything. I think they get slightly better stat growth, but it doesn't make up for all that other stuff. But what they do get is innate counterattack skill. Or actually, this guy's just going to kill him, so we're going to have Ramza come over here. Or Beef. I'm going to screw that up so many times over the course of this playthrough. But yeah, in the early parts of the game, monsters are actually quite dangerous because of that counterattack skill. If you get unlucky with that, it can make some of the early battles like really challenging. If you just because sometimes not only will the monster get a counterattack, but sometimes you'll miss them as well. They have pretty high evasion for this point in the game too. So yeah, sometimes what happens is you just you go to attack a monster and your attack misses and they get a counterattack on you, which is just the worst. And if that happens too many times, you can just get screwed over by RNG this early in the game. Though with that said, these early battles are pretty easy, even if you do get bad luck. Which is part of the reason why it's fun to do these kinds of challenges. And I know there's like a lot of pricks out there who will go on about, like, oh, Final Fantasy Tactics, super easy game, I don't see how anyone can have difficulty with it. No, that's not true. Final Fantasy Tactics is a super difficult game your first time through, especially if you're just sort of getting introduced to the genre. Like, I guess, I don't know, it's kind of middle of the road as far as challenge goes. I think like a game like, what is the name of that stupid Genesis? The one on Genesis, it starts with an S, I think. Crap, why am I blanking on the name of this stupid game? Shining Force is definitely I'd say like an entry-level tactical RPG. Shining Force is not tough at all, and there's no complicated skill systems or character building systems or anything to deal with. Vandal Hearts is another pretty easy kind of introductory level. And even those games aren't like super easy. They're just, easier than this game and easier than most tactical RPGs. But there's some like insanely basically bad game design, unfair bullshit in this game your first time through if you don't know what's coming up. There are some fights, some particularly difficult fights that can be literally impossible if you don't have the right loadout for it, if you're not prepared for them. You can literally lose some of the later fights, or particularly there's a couple fights I think near the end of Chapter 2 that you can literally lose before you even get a chance to do anything with your characters. It's just like the enemies kill the person you're supposed to protect and you lose, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, there are a few battles you really need to specifically prepare for. And what's even worse is that there are some sequences where you get multiple battles in a row, and the game will prompt you to save in between each of those. So if you save over your main save file, you can end up saved right before a battle that you literally cannot win, and just be completely screwed. There's nothing you can do about it at that point, because you're locked into the battle if you use those sort of mid-sequence saves like that. So anyways, what I'm getting at, Final Fantasy Tactics, not the easiest of games, despite what some hardcore fans of the game might tell you. But once you know the game, it does get a lot easier. Once you sort of know the strongest jobs, know the best skill setups for your characters, you can create some obscenely overpowered job and skill combinations in this game to make the game a total cakewalk. Sure, if you grind out calculator, a fully decked out calculator with all the best skills, you can solo the entire game. That's one of the ways that a solo character challenge is not actually... In fact, I think if you look up speedruns of Final Fantasy Tactics, the fastest way to beat the game is to just grind up your main character, give him a calculator and all of the best wizard spells, at plus Holy, and then just have him solo the entire game. And that's the fastest way to beat Final Fantasy Tactics in a speedrun setting. But yeah, and it's because of that. The fact that once... It's actually the same with most of the sort of job system-based Final Fantasy games. Most of them have that kind of stuff. Like there's overpowered shit you can do in Final Fantasy V and maybe 3. I don't know that game quite as well. I need to get into like a rhythm of tapping the X button during these cutscenes, because sometimes I just get sidetracked by commentary and forget to advance the text because I'm not actually really reading it. Oh, this is actually... the characterization, I think, is definitely a lot stronger in the War of the Lions translation. And this is where you kind of get a sense that Zalbag is kind of a cool guy. Just that he kind of gets us... He kind of expresses sort of one kind of respect for at least the morals of the enemies who are the Corpse Brigade / Death Corps in this early part of the game. And here he throws us a bone and tells us where to find them and get some action going, as opposed to guard duty here at the castle. So we get kind of a positive impression of, Ramza's brother Zalbag here. Dasadarg we don't know too much about at this point. So many weird names in this game, I don't know how to pronounce any of them. For me, it's always Zalbag, Ramza, Dasadarg, Beolv, I do for the last name. Now I'm suddenly, like, reading the text now that I'm talking about it. But yeah, it's, the plot of this game, I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later. I never actually really understood the plot of this game. They're actually the main plot, and it's tough to say what's the main plot and what's the side plot. If you read, like, the whole intro, it's talking about, like, the War of the Lions and the War of Succession between the Black Lion and the White Lion, who are, like, the brother and brother and cousin of the former king, and how the king left. King's heir hasn't come of age, and he's got this adopted daughter. And it's like this kind of politically complicated War of Succession for, I don't even know what, or I guess the country of Ivalice. And I used to pronounce it Ivalice until the new voice-acted games revealed the fact that, yeah, it's actually Ivalice. Okay, so yeah, he's got, it's 200 for, okay. The last playthrough of this game I actually did, like with that previous kind of test run of the 4-job Fiesta I did, was actually in the War of the Lions version of the game. And that was where I actually learned that all of the requirements for the jobs went up. And not only that, but a lot of the skills went up, as skill requirements went up as well. Like JP boost was 250 in War of the Lions as opposed to 200. But yeah, I think that like increases your JP gains by like 50%. It's absolutely essential if you want to do any fast leveling towards particular jobs. Oh, why has she got so much more? I guess she got some kills in the previous battle. Okay, and right, you can actually do a little bit more grinding in Squire for even more efficient leveling if there's something that you like really want to work towards, something that requires like tons and tons of grinding. Basically, like I said in the first video, it really helps if there's like an action you can take that doesn't require that's not that you can just take on yourself anytime. Like if you like something like I used Chemist as an example, just potioning every time anybody's at has any HP loss just for the JP. But an even better one is Focus here, which is just like a buff spell. You cast it and it increases your attack power, and you can just keep on doing that basically infinitely. I think there is a physical attack cap that you'll hit eventually, but you can basically just focus every turn to ensure that you're always getting JP on every single combat turn. And that makes grinding a little bit faster. Not only that, but the animation for that skill is super fast as well. With that said, T-Bone is only a thief, so it's actually not going to take her too long to get into that class. It would probably, in fact, we could probably make her a thief by the time we could even level up or gain, like, even grind the 300 JP fourth. I keep wanting to call it accumulate, because I think that's what it was called in the original game, but Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to actually check the outfitters to see if we can actually get... Okay, so we can get bow guns at this point, which means we can totally make her an archer at this point, which is the first step on the way to becoming a thief. Yeah, archer is really easy to... thief is really easy to unlock. Basically, level 2... Yeah, getting your... Oh yeah, and the way you level up jobs is you just gain JP. Once you get beyond a certain JP threshold in a job, you level up that job, and that unlocks more classes. Level 2 Squire unlocks unlocks Knight and Archer, and level 2 Archer unlocks Thief. So that's the end of that. So once basically one battle will probably be enough to get T-Bone into Archer position. Or you know what, I might as well go... or no, the other characters still have to stay Squires, because I don't know JP up yet. Ooh, Longsword is actually worth getting. Do we have... Yeah, we probably have the money for this. 500 per sword? Yeah, we can easily afford that. Whoops, okay, I think I did that right. Yes, we want to buy all that. And we can sell off their old shit. Daggers. Nobody should be using daggers at this point. Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. Argath starts with a longsword. I should have stripped that off him rather than wasting money on a bunch of swords for my guys. Because yeah, NPCs are like you can gear them up and like make them good. Or your guests, that is. You can gear them up and make them good for like tough battles if you really need to. But in general, they're pretty useless. Like, generally the first thing I do when I get a guest in my party, because unlike a lot of other games, you do actually have full control over their equipment. And in fact, oh yeah, I think I'm going to want to remove those battle boots off him as well. That's just going to encourage him to run up and get himself killed even faster. And T-Bone... Okay, you know what? Sirloin needs the most help with JP grinding, because he needs to make it to Bard. And yeah, like I think there's what, 1, 2, 3, I've got it written down here. 7 classes we need to work through. That doesn't even include grinding up the JP for gained JP up. So yeah, it's actually 8 classes I think we're going to need to work through with Sirloin. So yeah, Battle Boots will help him get into position to attack enemies more often, so he'll be our main JP getter. Oh yeah, random battles. Since I kind of want JP at this point, like as fast as possible, I'm generally going to be taking all the random battles I get at this point. Anytime now. This? Okay, good. So, or is there any reason to keep Beef a Squire? I probably should have moved him up to Archer, actually, too, now. Didn't think of that. Oh well. Yeah. And then T-Bone in the back. I guess I'll have Beef sit in the back, too. And yeah, you can see there we've got a maximum capacity of 5. That can actually end up biting us in the ass, depending on what sort of configuration you get. That random battles have always been my least favorite part of this game. It's just so stupid. Like, you can just, if you want to, you can just save scum past it to save time. Like, you can just save your game and just reload every time you get a random battle. Or just use save states if you're using an emulator. It's probably the fastest way to do it. Like, it's just so stupid that they put this in the game. Like, if you and it can be helpful, don't get me wrong. Like, sometimes you want to get these random battles. And that's the other annoying thing, is sometimes you don't get random battles when you do want them. I think it's something like a 33% chance. Yeah, 1 in 3 to get a random battle on a given pass through any of the red spaces on the map. Where can this guy move? I think I actually want to move these guys. Yeah, we'll move them up a little bit just so they'll get that 20 CT, which will ensure good timing after the enemy turns come around. Yeah, T-Bone can take the high ground, actually. I want to get her up on that stone. Actually, you know what? High ground doesn't help if you have a archer equipped, or a bow equipped, but... No, what? Third try. If you have a crossbow, height doesn't matter, but longbows have increased range from higher elevation. I really like just the music in general in this game is obviously phenomenal. One of my favorite soundtracks in video game history, really. And yeah, this track is maybe not my absolute favorite, but it's certainly like my top 5, maybe top 3 in the game. You know what? We should probably charge him. Or you know what? If the Chocobo wants to hang back, yeah, let's move up. Yeah, not often in battles where you're outnumbered, the best strategy is just kind of charge on through on one side. Just, you know, try to move towards some enemies and keep the others away from you. Kind of an obvious tactic from any sort of tactical strategy game you have. Like, yeah, here moving them all up here will keep the Chocobo away for probably 1 turn, which will probably be enough to thin out the ranks over here, or at least get rid of this Gobbo. Oh god, that Chocobo has way more move than I thought. Okay, so this was a disaster. We're gonna have to fight all of them at once here. Yeah, the smarter thing to do would have been actually to bum rush the Chocobo, since he's got the most movement. Yeah, this goblin here has like 3 movement or something. Oh well. I think we want to get around behind this guy, smack him in the butt. Yeah, we'll have her face there. This guy, oh, he's blinded though, so yeah, as much as it kills me, yeah, I think I want to have him move to the side just to make sure he doesn't miss. Blind really does not do much in this game. It's like, sure, it decreases your accuracy, but it's only really a huge factor. That's not gonna cut it. And I don't want her, like, soaking up all the JP in these fights anyways. God, seriously? Although with that said, we might as well have her do something rather than nothing. Okay, so this was kind of a big waste of a lot of actions. Thankfully, it's only 3 enemies. There's a really terrible random... Basically, there's like a pool of random encounters you can get on each map. And the worst one you can get at this stage in the game for this map, there's one that has, I think it's 1 panther, 2 goblins, and 3 chocobos, which is absolutely insane for this stage in the game, because I don't think you guys have seen it yet, but chocobos have a healing ability. It's a pretty good one, too. It's an AoE healing ability that heals for, like, a good amount. So, like, with 3 chocobos, it's quite possible that you literally won't even have the DPS to, like, take down a chocobo before it heals itself. It's absolutely crazy. And, of course, if you're doing, like, a gimped party like this one, with only 4 people in it, you're even more screwed. Or actually, there's a trick you can do, actually. So yeah, you see there's this little blind spot around my archer here. Can't hit within 2 squares of her, but can hit 3 and 4, or is that what? 1, 2, yeah, 3 or 4 spaces. What you can do, though... Oh, you know what? I've screwed this up. I don't know who's gonna get hit by this. Basically, you can target empty spaces, or okay, who can afford to take the hit the most? Neither of them. You know what? Okay, I'm not gonna show this off after all. Screwed that up. Can I kill him? This really isn't worth my while to hit this guy unless I can kill him. I'm gonna go for it. That's good. Kinda sucks that, Beef here is getting all the kills, though. Brisket here could literally die if that Chocobo gets a counterattack on her. Like, it won't kill her right away, but, like, he'll get the counterattack, and then on his next turn, he'll kill her. Because, yeah, character permadeath is a thing, if I didn't make that clear in the previous video. Your own characters will eventually turn to crystals as well. Oh, this is the trick I wanted to show off before. So you can see, Chocobo's in our blind spot. We can't attack things 2 squares away, but bows in this game are based on line of sight. So you can see we've got a 0% chance to hit Brisket here because the Chocobo's in the way, so if we try to target her, it'll hit the Chocobo anyways. And in fact, you can even do that with an empty space. So yeah, the blind spot, like the dead space in the archer's range, literally irrelevant. You can just shoot right through it. You can shoot an enemy in those spaces just by targeting a blank space on the other side. So yeah, a bit of a design oversight, I guess you might call that. Although it actually does have a bit of an impact on gameplay, since enemies won't use that trick. So the enemy archers will always be constantly moving to reposition themselves away from you, which usually works to your advantage. Though another game mechanic that the enemies don't make use of at all is actually the whole CT saving thing I mentioned, like, you know, foregoing your moves in order to sort of build up that CT and get turns more frequently. Enemies don't take advantage of that at all. They will pretty much move and act on every single turn if they get the opportunity. Yeah, I guess that was 2 fights in one video. I think 30 minutes is a good time to shoot for these. So I think after this bout of shopping, we will call it... Oh, I thought it was more than that. They actually fixed the interface on the shop here, too, on the PSP version. Like with the increased, you know, resolution and all. You don't have it, so your stupid menu is covering up how much money you're spending. Or I guess you can just do this to see how much. Okay, we'll have 25 left after that. Not going to bother equipping my guests at all. Waste of money. And hopefully we can make some of that back by selling some shit. Could sell these Phoenix Downs too. And they might come in handy in one of the fights coming up, though. And let's see how everyone's doing JP-wise. Oh shit, okay, if I wanna make beef on Archer, which by all rights he should be by now, I'm gonna have to actually pass back through... I should have done this before. I'm gonna have to go back to Igros Castle. I'll do that off camera, just because I might have to do a bunch of, like, save resetting past Mandalia Plains to avoid the battle there. But for now, what else? What has everyone else got? He's got enough. Brisket's got enough. Oh, good. They both just barely got enough on that last fight. Okay, so that being said, here's the plan for jobs. Brisket is going to be an Oracle / Mystic, which means we actually need to move her into Chemist right now. Chemist is the... Yeah, like I think I mentioned this already. There's basically two job trees in the game. There's the magic jobs that stem from the Chemist class, and the physical jobs that stem from the Squire class. So yeah, Chemist is the first job on the path to any magical jobs that you want. Oh yeah, and we need to learn these people some skills as well. Archer, aim +2 is a good balance. Aim... Oh, I'm going to spend a lot of time. You know what, yeah, we'll actually save the skill getting until the next video, because there's a lot to talk about. This is kind of the point where I can start going really in depth into a lot of the jobs there are here. So yeah, and Sirloin... Oh yeah, and I should freaking assign JP Boost, which I often forget. Often I'll learn JP Boost for everyone and then just forget to equip it for like 3 battles, which is horrible. So okay, Sirloin, and actually Bard is considered a magic job as well, so yeah, he's gonna have to move into Chemist as well. So this is actually a pretty good thing, I think, for the early battles, having multiple chemists. Although it's not going to last. We only need to get level 2 chemists to move up to the next jobs that we need. So that's not going to last long. But yeah, we'll save the getting of... Oh, you know what? That means I wasted money on all those long swords too. Yeah, like nobody is going to get to use those ever, actually, I don't think. Yeah, none of our classes can use swords. yeah, Beef is gonna stay an archer forever. He'll never get to use a sword again. Once T-Bone passes through Archer, she'll go to Thief and she'll never use a sword again. Anyone in the magic side of the tree is never using swords again. So yeah, I wasted a ton of money on those long swords. I didn't even need them for that last battle either. I probably cost myself JP by killing the enemies too fast and ending the battle too quickly. Anyways, we can go into all the details about all the classes we're using right now in the next video. Until then, yeah, gods be with you, and I'll see y'all next time.